Okay, so hi everybody. My name is G. Fletcher, and I'm a Pro 7 here in Australia. And I am delighted. I'm a stay-at-home mom now. I've got the pleasure of being able to do this business full time. I've always been a business owner, and this is allowing me the flexibility. And I get to interview some incredible people now as part of my job every day. And the first person I'd like to just now to introduce, I'm very excited about, Dr. Deborah Doster Vigilione. So to give you a little bit of a background on this incredible lady, she has a medical doctorate degree from the University of North Carolina. She completed her residency in the Air Force, which I was quite blown away with, and you actually served there for 11 years. She's a veteran from the first Gulf War. And then she went on to actually be certified in internal medicine by the American Anti-Aging and Regenerative Medicine, by the American Academy of Anti-Aging and Regenerative Medicine. And since 1994, she's held her own private practice in Florida, where she's basically dedicated her life to healing and prevention of illness through degenerative and anti-aging medicine. She's married to Terry Schneider and has four children and 2 stepchildren. And your favorite activities are water and snow skiing. Wow. So welcome, Deborah. We are delighted to have you here. In the Gulf War, wow, 11 years Air Force. That would have been pretty crazy times over there, and then to come back and open up your own practice.
Yeah, that was interesting. You know, I went into the Air Force to pay for my medical school. I just didn't really have any other options. But it ended up being one of the best decisions I made in my life because, you know, you get thrown in and you have to do things. You don't have, people to help you. Like I was at a hospital where I was kind of the authority and I had to do everything. And, on the field in battle, you have to do everything. And so it gave me confidence then to branch out, because internal medicine people are typically more nerdy, brainy kind of people, and they don't do anything procedure-wise. And I have a very heavily loaded procedure clinic because, I had to do lines and all kinds of things when I was in the Air Force. So it ended up being a great experience. And that first Gulf War was so interesting. I don't know how many of you guys remember it, but it was an air war, and they were bombing Kuwait. And then they sent in, when they knew they sent in the ground troops, they sent us then to get in place. And we set up a World War II hospital, set it back up that received casualties. And we were watching on CNN like everybody else was. We would be watching the war on CNN. It was so funny. But I was in England at the time.
Wow. So can I ask, how did you get into internal medicine then? Like, how come this kind of came about, and anti-aging? What got you really into this and decide to open up your practice in that field?
Well, I guess when I first wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to cure people. I wanted to, figure out what was wrong with them and cure them. And then you go to medical school and you realize, and I thought I would be a surgeon because I was good with my hands and I liked doing stuff. And I got to med school and realized that surgeons are really technicians. I mean, they're cutting things out, sewing things up, but they're not diagnosing disease. The intern is the pinnacle in medicine. They're the ones that diagnose disease. They're the ones that guide everybody else what to do. Like surgeons always consult internists to manage their cases, to manage the medical part. And so I realized that to get the knowledge base I needed, I was going to have to go into internal medicine. I still intended to go into surgery after that because I liked doing procedures, but after one residency, I wasn't about to do another one. I was like, done. And then I did internal medicine for, let's see, I graduated in 86, did it pretty steady, moved here in 94, but I'll tell a little story. It's kind of interesting how I ended up getting into integrative medicine or natural medicine is I was still in the Air Force and got pregnant out at Edwards Air Force Base, which is a small hospital. It's like the Top Gun for the Air Force. So it was great for pilots, but it was terrible for medicine. And in a little small hospital, they had some nurse anesthetists, but they would not give epidural. So you had to either take drugs when you had a baby or you had to undergo natural childbirth. And I felt like there was a time bomb inside me because I couldn't get an epidural. So I was freaking out and ended up taking a natural childbirth class called the Bradley Method, which introduced me to a whole world of natural products, natural people that did things a different way. So it was very eye-opening. Ended up with a C-section and a spinal, but anyway, through that I learned, and my first baby had colic because you had to give antibiotics and things, and learned a lot about alternative medicine while I was out there. And when I came back here and set up private practice, I sent somebody to the local health food store to get an herb to help with a cold or sore throat. And all of a sudden, the health food store started sending everybody. I called them my herb children that, were in their skirts and sandals and hairy armpits and hairy legs, and said, you have to fix me naturally. I'm not going to take a drug. And I know that you know something about this. And I really didn't. And they're like, well, you got to tell me what to do. Well, fortunately, I had a resident when I had been at the Air Force Base here in Eglin, who was doing an alternative practice. And so I had him on the phone almost every day when these people came in. I said, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Because back then they didn't have training courses. They had some books. Some people like Christine Northrup had written a book. Dr. Lee, I don't know if any of you guys have read any of those. They're old and they're dated now, but that was how I learned. I had to teach myself how to do this. And now they have training courses. Like I go to the A4M, which is the American Academy for Anti-Aging and Regenerative Medicine. So there's so much more available. But back then I was self-taught, book-taught, and I had my friend that guided me through this. So that's kind of how I did. And when I first started, it was in the 90s, and people really thought I was a quack. I mean, I got labeled. But now it's what everybody wants. So, it's funny how things have changed.
Your practice has probably grown so much in the last few years because anti-aging and integrative and prevention, we have holistic doctors here, and I go and see them, and there's like a 2 to 3 month waiting list. So it's not somebody that you can just call in when you're not feeling very well. It's something that I have to book in way in advance. Like my next appointment's in October, right. But it's all about prevention. And just moving on to that, I mean, how did you get involved? I'd love to hear the story of how you actually got involved with LifeVantage, how you heard of the products, and what you thought when you heard them and saw them. Was it just like, nah, not interested? What is this? Because you must get things that come through your door every day. I can only imagine the amount of people that come in going, I've got the next best thing. I've got the magic thing.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny because I am a target, and so many network marketing people have been in and out of this office, so much so that I was done with it. I guess my first one that I actually did do something with was noni juice. I remember back in I think it was in the 90s, maybe late 90s, the juices got really popular. And they were good, but nothing like what we have now. But, it was just product after product was being marketed through network marketing, but they weren't anything special. And these people would come in and they'd be all excited, and I was going to make them their millions, and they were going to go to the top. And sometimes it was junk, but a lot of times they were believing a lot of jargon and stuff that they were fed. And when I would press further, well, where's your science? Show me proof that your product does what it does. They never had any. I mean, it was pathetic. And these people had no idea what I was talking about when I talked about, peer-reviewed research, science. Show me some data that your product does what it does. And I can remember one in particular was supposed to raise your glutathione, and they would just talk about the benefits of glutathione. I said, no. I want to know the study that showed me that your product raises glutathione. Well, they couldn't produce anything because they don't have it. And I've been told, go to the website and click on the science bar. Go there. There's no science. There's no proof their product does it. And these people, I call them, they go to the pep rallies and, and they get this big hype going. And I'm just like, this is crazy. So anyway, I was so done with it. And my office manager liked having these people come in because she'd have them buy us lunch. And that was the only way they got to talk to me, was to buy me lunch. And I told her, I said, I'm done. No network marketing, no MLM, pyramid scheme, whatever. I gave her every word. I said, do not let these people in the door anymore. So that's where I was, because I would write them a check because I knew they bought me lunch out of their own pocket and sign up to these companies just to get them out of my office, just as a shopper. And then I would never buy anything from them. So that was the attitude I had. And this was December of 2015. I was at the A4M, which is a huge conference in Las Vegas every year of all the anti-aging physicians. And a mutual friend of mine was hanging out with Dr. Sean McKee, who I didn't know at the time. And he started talking about, they'd had their convention right before ours, and he was still there. And he started talking about it. And I said, wait a minute, Bill. It sounds like this is network marketing. And he goes, yeah, but I said, Bill, you're at one of their pep rallies. I'm like, dude, you guys need to get out of there. And then he started, justifying it. And I said, oh my God, you're already being brainwashed. You're drinking. You need to run. But he refused to do it. And so I said, I'm just going to bed. And I was thinking, well, hopefully the next day he won't hang out with them anymore. Well, he was hanging out with them, and there was a whole group of them. And, Dr. Gordon and Dr. Jean DeLucia and all these people, they were all hanging out. And I realized that I was going to be lonely, or I was going to hang out with these people. So they invited me to dinner, and the chief science officer, Sean Talbert, at the time was buying everybody dinner at a really nice restaurant in Vegas. And they sat me right across from him. And I started making fun of all of them. I looked at Dr. Talbert and I said, all right, hit me with your science. I said, I'm going to blow holes in it in 2 seconds. I know that you don't have anything. And he said, we have 11 peer-reviewed studies. And I was like, you have peer-reviewed studies? I said, I would have been impressed with 1, and you have 11. He goes, come to my lecture tomorrow. And then I was like, they're letting you lecture at our conference? I mean, I was completely insulting, because I did not believe that anything in a network marketing structure could actually have validity. So I went to the lecture, and they were texting me to make sure I was going. And I'm like, I'm coming. And sat up front with Dr. Sean and heard the data. It's not like what you hear with the ABC primetime. I saw that months later. But it was the actual data that was done to get the patents and for the peer-reviewed studies. And when I saw that oxidative stress, which we had been talking about for 10 years being the root cause of aging disease, and we weren't getting a handle on it, and they were trying all these things. Well, I saw that it could reduce it in 40% in just 30 days. And everybody, I literally got chills from the head to toe, about fell out of my chair, and felt like I'd really stuck my foot in my mouth, because I realized I was onto something special and that was going to change the world. And the more I heard it, I realized it's going to change everything about what I do, everything about the world, because gene activation was so much more powerful than supplementing, which is what we've been doing for years, and could not wait to get started. So, I was just so excited. And at the time, all they had was the True Science and the Nerf 2. I came home, told my husband that I'd found a miracle for our finances, because I knew enough about network marketing that there was going to be a lot of business opportunity, a major, it was going to fix our finances and give us a return. Went through a terrible divorce, and I don't have much in the way of retirement. Practice has been difficult to keep up. I mean, I got plenty of patience, but getting money is another thing. So I said, I got a plan for our finances. And I said, we're going to change the world, and, we're going to be healthier. And he just thought, oh my God, she drank the Kool-Aid. And he got on his motorcycle, which I told him, I said, I wasn't going to order till after Christmas, as this was in December, and finances are tough, then you're buying presents. So I told him I was going to sign up in January. He got on his motorcycle, went to Mississippi, got in a car with Dr. Sean McKee and some other people, went down to San Antonio to Elite Academy. He had a list of 17 things, and he was going to talk me out of this. And when he came back, it was so funny. He walked in the room and he goes, this is huge. He says, I've already bought stock in it. So that was how we got started. And it's been an incredible journey. What is so much fun is I used to send people out with literally 25 or 30 supplements routinely, and they would get better, but nothing like what I've seen since this. I tell people I've seen more miracles than I've seen in 30 years of medicine, but anything that's wrong with them, I watch their lab work and just watch their body heal. When you take away oxidative stress and you support mitochondrial function and gut function, guess what? The body heals. And it's been so much fun to watch.
So this is mainly in your practice now, what you do give to a lot of people is, we're not going to really talk about the ProBio, which man I'm hanging out for because we don't have it here. We're going to have Nerf 1 in November. But Nerf 2, like you said, 10 years you've heard about oxidative stress, which for anyone on here is basically rusting from the insides. I love Dr. Neil Goodman when he was actually talking about what Protandim does. I'd never heard the analogy before about a piano. And he was talking about the tuning of a piano, and he was talking about these predisposed. I just never seen the graphs, like I'm sure you've seen his presentation, but I'd never seen the graphs of your predisposed bad genes that you may have that have just come down through your DNA. And what happens with Protandim, when you actually start to take it, it just levels out all these, basically turns off the bad genes and turns on the good ones. So can you maybe explain from your perspective what you've seen and like with these lab results, what you've actually been able to see Protandim do for your patients and everything? What got you so excited about Nerf 2 pathway and the future of it?
Well, because oxidative stress is behind every disease and aging, and that's my job, is to keep people young and keep them healthy, I knew that it was going to be very big on the prevention side. But, being an internist, people have typically, 4 medical problems. When they come in, they generally have diabetes, hypertension, their lipids are up. And I also specialize in hormone therapy, so a great deal of my patients have low thyroid function. And nutrigenomics is a name, for using nutrition to manipulate expression of your genes. And I've been doing that for quite a while because I'm what we call a methylation specialist, which is a pathway in the body that deals with B12 and folate and other B vitamins. And it's vital for the immune system and your nervous system to function. So I've been doing a lot of that. And the complaints most people come in with is I'm tired, I can't lose weight, and I've got brain fog. And I'd say that's probably 100% of the people that come in the door. And so treating like methylation, looking for thyroid and balancing their hormones got them better. But what I've noticed with when I added the Protandim, one of the aspects of getting healthier is detoxing the body, getting the trash out of the body. And, people go through cleanses and do these dramatic things, colon cleanses, liver cleanses, chelation. I've done all of that. But when I started using the NRF2, again, remember removing that root cause of disease, people started, whatever was wrong with them, whether it was diabetes or sugars elevated, their cholesterol, everything started to get better faster. And then when you added the Nerf 1, I didn't see the side effects I saw with Nerf 2. Because think about when you got trash in your body, mercury is a good example. Mercury is very, very toxic. So when you mobilize from deeper stores, the body's smart. It's going to get that mercury out of your bloodstream and try to hide it somewhere. Well, that causes organ dysfunction. But when you try to get it out, it gets in the bloodstream again and can, cause symptoms. Your brain doesn't work right, things like that. You can get rashes, you can get headaches. Those are all detox symptoms. So when you mobilize that stuff, some people had some problems. But what I've learned now with the Nerf 1 that you're going to get soon is the mitochondria make most of our energy. It takes energy to run all these reactions and pathways in the body. So when you support the mitochondria, your energy's better, so you're more efficient in detoxing and removing your oxidative stress. So when we started using the two together, people just got better faster and didn't have the side effects. And it's been really remarkable with autism because those people have a tremendous amount of toxicity and inflammation in their guts and their brain, and they have mitochondrial dysfunction. So when you use those two together, they're just getting better so much quicker and without the side effects. Because, with autism, a lot of times you have healing crises, you get worse before you get better, and I just don't see that. And I know Dr. Brett Brimhall sees the same thing. When we use those two together, they just breeze through that and they just start getting better. I mean, one of the quickest things you see is people's energy is better. Their brain fog is going away. And over time, it's been helpful in weight management because your metabolism is picking up because you're supporting your mitochondria.
Great. So what would you, that's so exciting. I am so looking forward to actually having NRF1 coming here to Australia. So we're going to be getting it in November. I want to ask just quickly maybe on that. Dr. Chevreau said to me last week, we were like, Dr. Chevreau, do we take NRF1 and NRF2 together? A lot of the time people find that they detox, and people have been saying, no, take NRF2 per tandem, and then maybe after a couple of months take NRF1. And she said, well, Dr. Vigilione says that you actually should be starting with NRF1 if you can only have one, which kind of blew everything out from what we had kind of been told. So is this because of the energy that you're believing that it's going to kick in the energy first before the detox?
Yeah, I've told her, I said, I think that your discovery may be as big or bigger than the NRF2 when time plays out and we have more research, because they're now in my conferences talking about mitochondrial dysfunction being the main cause of cancer formation. And so you want mitochondria. And so I think her discovery is going to be bigger. And, I was just shocked. I did not expect to see what I'm seeing. So if somebody's really sick, really tired, and I suspect they're toxic, their body isn't working right, sometimes I'll start the NRF1 before the NRF2. But starting them together usually works out really well. And now that, we have the Vitality Stack, I'll just start all four together because you're treating the gut, and then the omega-3 helps with the brain and additional inflammation. But, you can get probiotics there. You can, use that too. That's just this probiotic. It's funny because when it came out, I had no expectations whatsoever that this was going to be anything special, because I've used hundreds of probiotics. And Dr. Chevreau kept talking about the delayed release technology. And I was like, big deal. And that's why I bought about 6 bottles, put them out. Patients said, hey, will you try this? And they tried it. They came back raving with it. And, a few weeks, they come back and say, oh my gosh, I had one lady said she hadn't had a normal bowel movement in 10 years. I never heard those kind of stories with any other probiotic. And it's so simple. It's just 6 billion, but that delayed release technology is really a big deal. So I can't wait for you guys to get that too.
We're really looking forward to that. So just for everyone that's on here, can you just talk about, I've heard Dr. Joe McCord, when I heard him saying, we are pioneering something so new with our NRF2. In Australia, there is one study, I think, being done now down at the University of Melbourne on NRF2 activation and liver cancer, and they've just started to do. So we're so far behind even what you're doing in America. Really nobody knows. No doctors, nobody knows over here about NRF2 activation. Where do you see this go? I know Dr. Joe McCord said, I believe that it'll be as widely known as cholesterol in the next 10 years. People will be talking about, measuring their oxidative stress, or doctors will be measuring people's oxidative stress. And where do you see it going, what we're doing now?
I think that, yes, they're right, because, of course, that relies on us to spread the word and tell people, because word of mouth is the best thing to sell things. It's a little bit slow, but it's really good because people are going to be telling their stories. Already, Facebook is such a powerful tool, and people get on there and tell their stories about how this has helped them. People that haven't been able to walk or get out of bed, or are getting out of bed, they're getting their lives back. I mean, it's just consistent. You keep seeing this, and word's going to get out. And it's the interesting thing though, from a business standpoint for you guys is there are other products out there that are claiming to be NRF2 activators, and legally they can do it because broccoli, the substance in broccoli, is a NRF2 activator. Each of the ingredients that we have in Protandim is also a NRF2 activator. It's just really weak compared to what we get with Protandim. And so they can legally do that. But most of these companies really haven't done any studies, and they certainly don't have university studies, peer-reviewed research. So we are light years ahead of any competition comes out. And so, even if they did, I mean, who are you going to go with? The one that's proven or one that's studied? Because one of the things Dr. McCord was talking about is when he used different combinations, and Dr. Chevreau can talk about that. If you don't get the precise combination, you can actually increase oxidative stress, or you don't get the results that you want. And that's how they were able to get the patents. So it's a really big deal. I don't know if it'll be like cholesterol. The problem that we're dealing with is, cholesterol, you can do a blood test, that we're trying to find a reliable way to measure oxidative stress. And our company's been very active in looking for that, because the T-bars they talk about, they're not accurate unless you process fresh blood like within 30 minutes. And that's how this stuff was done, because Dr. Chevreau has looked at it repeatedly and with paired samples, and it just deteriorates over time. Similar immune system tests, they really need to be run on fresh blood in 30 minutes. So we were looking at an inhaled device, and that hasn't worked out so far. So we need something consistent, reliable, that people can do and measure it. But, right now I tell people, just, whatever was abnormal in your labs, just keep an eye on it. And at first I started testing people every 2 months, because I wanted to see when I would see a difference. And it's about 6 months when I start seeing changes in lab work. And then the longer you're on it, the better it gets. But what's interesting, that, type 1 diabetics don't have a functioning pancreas. Okay, so they have to be on insulin. And I've seen type 1 diabetics reduce their insulin and reduce the of low blood sugars by taking Nerf2. And they didn't grow a pancreas. So just reducing oxidative stress has reduced their need for insulin. I mean, it's just amazing.
Wow. So you've noticed this on bloods. And as you say, probably even just overall health in the bloods, you would just see maybe with the inflammation markers and things like that they would be reduced. So, because so many people say to me, I need to get a T-bar test done. I said, you know what, it's really pretty impossible in Australia to get one done. But I said, just go and get your bloods done. And then just, just check it out in the next few months and see, has there been any improvements in these inflammation markers and things and overall health.
Yeah, that inflammation markers are good ones to follow. The other thing is, sometimes the body's healing, it's healing gradually, and you don't always notice the absence of something. Like I realized that a bunion that had hurt disappeared, and I couldn't tell you when it happened. It's like it's so gradual. The absence of pain, you don't always notice. You've learned to live with it. But that I had a patient, they always come through and they're like, do I have to take all this, or what can I get of, for money? And one guy came in and says, I don't know if this Protanum's doing anything. And I just looked at him, about dropped my jaw, and I said, I've taken you off of 4 medications since you've been on it. And he goes, oh, yeah, I guess you have. I'm like, dude, it's working.
Well, that's what we even find. Like a lot of the time people say, right, I'm going to give it 3 months and I'm going to see. And if I don't feel any difference, and I'm like, okay, so you may be honing in on one particular thing that you want to feel better in, your knee or something like that. But I'm like, over the 2.5 years, each time I've found something. Like I heard the other week somebody talking about bruising, and I was like, oh my gosh, I used to bruise so badly. I used to have, I would bang myself off a door and somebody thought I'd been beaten up. It would be huge bruises. I don't get them anymore.
I'm the same way. I had the same problem. And it took me a year or so to realize I wasn't doing that anymore.
Yeah. So what do you say when people even say, well, I'm going to give it 3 months or I'm going to give it 4 months and that's it. And if I don't see, for me, I know it was at least nearly a year that I really felt my whole body had, a health transformation. What do you say to people if they come in and say, I'm only going to be on it for 3 months?
Well, I don't know. It's bad because you can't fix stupid. But tell them, so, what would be your reason to quit? If it's financial, well, don't even start. If you're not going to give this an adequate time, I said, you don't get sick overnight. It took you, decades to get where you are. Your oxidative stress build up over time. You can't expect the body to heal fast. It's not like a drug. We're a drug, you see an effect, in 30, 60 minutes. It's not like that. And you can't look at it as a drug. You got to look at it as you're making an investment in your health. And, these enzymes aren't even fully upregulated until you've been on the product about 4 months. Glutathione, it takes 4 months to get up 300%. And, somebody may be even slower than that if their body's sicker. So you just have to explain it to them and say, and sometimes you just take it away. Say, if you're not going to make the commitment to really get your body healthier over time and give this, a good 6 months to a year, then probably you shouldn't start at all. Just take it away from them, because I don't know, they don't have the right mindset.
Yeah. And look, people do want to get better. And I have seen some huge transformations in people. But I think a lot has to do with belief as well. If you believe that this product is going to work, a lot of the time that does help it, as well. So I'd love to put it out there. We've had a few questions here, and maybe just see, look, there's some people that have been saying, I began taking NRF1 with NRF2, not know the same thing, but it's only been a week or so. But can't have. Some people say that they like taking NRF1 at night and then NRF2 in the morning. Is that okay, or do you recommend taking? Yeah.
No, that's okay. Some people, both products seem to improve people's sleep quality. Yeah, but some people are sleepy with the NRF1 for unclear reasons, and so it's better if they take that at night. And then they're usually, their energy's good throughout the day. Some people require 3 to 4 NRF1. If you're one of these people that just feels incredibly exhausted, then it's better to go up rather than down on the dose. And we haven't quite figured out what that is. But usually if they work with it, that'll go away. And I feel it less, seemed like I had a little bit of that with the old formula. The new formula seems to not do it. But I've been on it for two years. But, you can take all of them together. Like I initially took NRF2 at night because the body does most of its repair work at night. And I still do. I usually take 2 NRF a day. I'll take 1 in the morning with my whole Vitality stack, and then I take another one before I go to bed at night. Because I'm really into this anti-aging to be as young as I can be, and I don't want to get cancer. So
on that anti-aging, because there's mainly women on here, and hey, that is the number one thing that none of us want to actually get is, we want to age great. Like I keep saying to everyone, I've just become 50. I'm believing I'm going to live to 100. And everyone's like, oh, I couldn't think of anything worse. I'm like, I'm not going to be sat in some nursing home. Right. I don't want to be sat unless I'm having a really good life. So what would you say when it comes to the anti-aging and that National Institute of Aging, like how were you excited when that study came out from being
gosh, yes.
Because for us, we're kind of like, it was nice, but for you, could you explain to us the importance of that study?
Well, one, aging is always studied in mice because they don't live that long. And, you could never study a human because humans live, sometimes 100 plus years. So, you got to study a model that doesn't live as long. So all the aging studies are done in mice. So that's our gold standard. But they studied a lot of things, like resveratrol didn't do a doggone thing. That stuff is still touted. There's just hardly any data that resveratrol is any good. Yet they always are talking about it, and take your green tea, whatever. They studied that. It didn't, increase median lifespan. This did. I mean, absolutely huge. I could get into more science that I figured out now because protandim works in some ways like this drug that actually extended life. But it is so huge. And I think the company is actually a little bit wary of the FDA because I'm like, why did you not shout that from the rooftops? Why were you not on Oprah, Good Morning America, today? Because anybody else would be out there making it known. Like I'm seeing magazines and they're talking about rapamycin and the drug that extended life. I'm like, my God, protandim did too. But it's not out there. The company's just worried because our FDA, I hate to say it, but they make a lot of money off sick people. Disease is a big deal, and when something's very effective at we can't prevent, cure, or mitigate disease, but when something's effective, the FDA doesn't tend to like that, and so I'm just a little bit wary. I wanted to show you guys a picture. If I can pull it up. Well, this was taken of me Sunday on a boat. So
I saw that. Yes, I saw that, and I was like, oh my gosh. Because can I ask you what age you are? Is that really rude to ask you that? Because I saw
No,
that picture and I was like, man, she's looking hot. Like that.
I'm 58.
58.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
and then I'm like, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to put that picture on my website, and then a picture where I'm doing like a jump in the Grand Canyon with my legs apart. My daughter did it a lot better, but I didn't realize people were like, oh my God, how did you do that? And I think, we have to look at attraction marketing. Hey, would you like to be able to do this? The reason I can do these things is because I'm living an activated life with these gene activators.
Cool. So
And I wasn't,
yeah, sorry.
I was just to say, there's been a big difference than not just taking vitamins. It's much, much different now.
Cool. Well, look, I'm going to stop the recording and then I'm just going to unmute, if that's okay with you, Dr. Deborah, and just see if anyone's got any particular questions. And we want to thank you so much for coming on. We've been super excited by what you've told us. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you when we go to Global.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.